All right, people. So our next review is going to be for Fallout Season 2. Fallout Season 2 is a continuation of the Fallout series, which is on Amazon Prime. It's starring Ella Purnell there. It is starring Walton Goggins as well, also starring Aaron Montan there. This story continues. Of course, we're going to be talking about events from Season 1, spoil a lot of those events if people hadn't seen that, to talk about this Season 2. And we're going to be spoiling Season 2 as well to talk about the events that go on in this as well. And so if people haven't seen either, click off, watch that, and then come back there if you care or not. But yeah, continuation there. So at the end, the conclusion of season 1 there, Ella Purnell's character, who's Lucy there, who's a vaultee, a person who was born in the vault there. She learns that her father, who's played by Kyle McLean there, who is the bad guy. He's the villain of the series there. We see that. So she's on we see it this season 2, a chase for him. She's chasing after him, and then along with her, joining her in her journey to chase after him is the ghoul here, who's played by Walton Goggins there, who was once just a normal guy. He was an actor by the name of Cooper Howard there, had a beautiful wife and child there, and now he's turned into a guy who's lived for over 200 years. So you have that. So they're both trying to chase after her father there. Well, primarily he wants to chase after him because he thinks that where her father is, where he finds her father, he's going to find his family. He thinks that they're in stasis somewhere there in Vegas, which this is the big thing about this season 2, which they tease at the end of season 1, which is them introducing New Vegas, which is seems like an adaptation of the game New Vegas there, which is I think I've heard, like, is that the most popular one there, New Vegas?
It could depend a little bit on who you ask, but
yeah, there's different people who like different Fallouts and whatnot. And New Vegas is the last one that was made by Obsidian, former Black Isle devs, and it has sort of a cult following due to that.
Okay. And with this season, you got a lot of spinning plates going on. You got the storyline with Ella Purnell, and you got the story on Walter Goggins, also with Aaron Montan. So he's part of the Brotherhood there, and there's like a mini civil war going on between them. Then also it's another storyline going on between another vaultee, another member of the vault there that is leading a whole kind of group of other people in the vault there. Then you have another storyline with the woman, what's her name with the eye patch? What's her name again?
Oh God,
Sarah, or not Sarah? What's her name?
What was it?
I forgot. Do you remember, Ulysses? Or
Eye patch, eye patch? I don't know.
Okay, I forgot her name, but it's the one with the eye patch there.
I remember eye patch, eye patch from Fallout lore. Very very deep character.
Yeah, so
Steph.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so she's now the overseer of the vault. I think vault 33. She's the overseer of, or vault 32. It's 33.
I think she's 33.
She's the overseer of that vault, and like, what's her master kind of plan, like what she's got cooking, with what's up with her. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this season 2, a lot of spinning plates, a lot of storylines going on. So yeah, it's kind of the basic setup you have of that there. And we see some more of this series. A lot of it does like flashbacks between modern present day there, what they do in the show, and then back to flashbacks back to the events before the nuke went off there. So we'll see, the show cuts between that. So here we see more fleshed out stuff of, what led to the nukes being dropped. A lot of stuff there with Cooper Howard and his wife, and what they were trying to do, maybe in the interworkings of the plans of them maybe trying to stop it. So we see some of that kind of going on. Even with the character of Hank there, who's Lucy's father, we see that we see what he's got a whole plan where he's trying to attach these devices to people's necks and control them, and kind of can do that, and he's trying to work on perfecting that. But I'm going to pass around and get you guys' thoughts on it. Sage, what are your thoughts here on season 2 of Fallout?
Well, I don't even want to compare it to the games here to start with, at least. I really want to focus in on just like I think what I think is structurally wrong with this as a show. And you used the term, and I think very aptly, a lot of spinning plates, to the point where I feel like in a whole season here, I feel like there just really isn't all that much plot actually happening. I think things are divided between so many characters, and some of them, especially, can feel pointless. I mean, there's like almost a full sort of main plot amount of screen time given to this like incest support group thing. And I think that the show ends up feeling like all of it is like a teaser for the next season. Like so many things are like, well, here's an element, and well, maybe it'll go somewhere at some point, or here's another faction of characters. And I mean, I've even talked to a few people who like have never played the games and are just watching the show online over the last week or so, and a lot of them have been like, yeah, I didn't. There's so many factions. Like I'm having trouble keeping up with what each one even wants, or like what even is separating these groups of people, and like what the conflict between them even is. And so I think there's a lot of stuff in here to me that feels like key jingling. Like hey, you recognize this from the games, but I'm not seeing them build an actual coherent plot out of it.
Mm. And then this wasn't in season 1 because we're introduced to I believe this is a new group we're introduced in this season, which is the Legion, right?
Yeah, they're from New Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And which is led by Macaulay Culkin, who's in this, who's in there. So the Legion, they have their own, also another group with another civil war between them and another faction of their group where they're
That
fighting.
is new to the show. In the game, they were a united faction, but it's believable if they would have fractured and broken up and fought each other at some point.
Okay. So they're fighting over like this dead body, and then there's like a note attached to the dead body, and they're trying to get it to see who's going to be appointed as the next. They call it not Caesar, but they call it something else. Kaisar.
Yeah. I want to point out too that like and I mean, it's a TV show, so I'm not trying to fault them for like maybe budgetary constraints too much, but like they do describe this like conflict, and then it feels like 20 guys on like either side of a little hill. Like I don't know, this what you're visually presented with space wise doesn't sort of match how they describe these groups to me.
That happens a lot in this season.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a new group that you have in this season, the Legion, as they're called. Ulysses, what are your thoughts, season 2?
Oh, Jesus. I thought this was terrible. I thought that there were points when I was watching this and I was like, did AI write this script? Because, like, don't get me wrong, the actors, they're doing a good job, I think. I think the props department is killing it, but the writing is just an absolute disaster. Like, there are not just like episode to episode, character arc to character arc, but there are like straight up like from scene to scene inconsistency issues where you're just like, I had to pause it sometimes and go, hold on, how did we get from here to there? Because it is just staggering the level of forgetfulness in what has been happening from one scene to the next, in the world building that they've been attempting to do. And it makes everything just feel incredibly flat and like it's not really, it's trying to build to something, but it doesn't know how. And I'm not even sure what it's building to. And this is just a continuous, consistent issue throughout the entire season.
Man, that is really disappointing to hear because I genuinely really enjoyed the first season. I'm not the biggest Fallout guy in the world, but that's really disappointing to hear about the second season, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And my thoughts on season 1 were that I thought I was lukewarm, and I think me and Sage reviewed it there. And Neil, you've played the games, right? Fallout or?
Yeah, I've played 3 and New Vegas. I bounced off of 4, but New Vegas is my favorite one. So this is all very disappointing to hear, unfortunately.
Okay. And I don't know the story really of, this New Vegas or really much of it. So I don't know how closely they get to it or not.
Well, what's interesting is that this is that season 2 isn't an adaptation of New Vegas. This is supposed to be after the events of New Vegas have already happened in some way, and they don't clarify how exactly the canonical ending of New Vegas went. But we're supposed to assume that Walton Goggins and Ella Purnell showing up on the scene is like a continuation of the Fallout universe rather than a straight adaptation of its games.
Yeah, that's one of the big fundamental problems I have, and that goes with the first season and the second season, is that the show is because there's a lot of things that I will complain about with this that I think if this was an adaptation, I think you could totally look at me and go like, come on, Sage, a lot of that's nitpicking. Let it go. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. And I think that'd be fair. But I don't think you could say that because the show itself adamantly states that this is the same continuity. This is the same universe. And so because there are so many of these things that actively contradict what is established, and not even just to the games, but even just sometimes in the show, it then contradicts what's been established in the show. It like all of those nitpicks become glaring structural logistical problems.
Okay. So yeah, so a lot of storylines, like I said, a lot of stuff kind of going on here in it. And is this an improvement over season 1? For me, I was trying to think, trying to remember as much as I can about season 1. There with it. I don't know. I think maybe I feel about the same, if not maybe a little slightly worse in the season 2, thinking about it overall, because I think there's so much going on. I don't know if I really care about a lot of stuff going on. I think even in season 1 we reviewed, I think I remember there was a storyline I didn't really care about at all. I can't remember what that storyline was.
Was it the brother like stuck in the vault?
I think that's what it was. And then they do the same thing with him again, where he's stuck in like some other vault and he's got other people there, and
until he doesn't. And
that's one of the things where I feel like it's so much of it is just sort of kicking a can down the road or going like, let's introduce some ideas and then eventually we'll get around to doing something with them. His story arc is, I think, one of the most guilty because he literally, if the season starts with him is like, all right, I got to figure out a way to get out of here. I can't get back to my vault and I'm stuck here. Let me do this solution to get out. All right, you kind of play that out, and then he learns like one piece of information, and then by the end of the last episode, he's kind of stuck in almost the exact same way, trying to get to the exact same place. And it feels like, and that happens with multiple characters as well. I figure we'll save spoilers for a little bit later into the review, but like there's at least 2 storylines I can think of where I feel like each character is in the exact same position as they were in the finale of season 1.
Yeah. And then there's like stuff going on with like vault politics with, you have a character who's Betty. So Betty is the overseer for 33, and then Stephanie's the overseer for 32, and then all these vaults are connected through like the underground, right? Like a lot
that's
these
only
2
unique to
specifically
these 2.
are.
Oh, that's okay. Only
yeah. That's like a special thing between these 2 vaults. Most of them are just like one by themselves.
Yeah, every vault in Fallout is meant to be sort of a different experiment. So the experiment for these 2 vaults is, what if we bolted them together, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. And is there a lot of cousin hooking up in all the other vaults, or is that just...
That is unique to this show.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the writers is telling on themselves because, it came up even in the first season all kind of a weird number of times, but I did sort of forget about it a little bit, like once it had been a while after the show had come out. But this season, I feel like they just doubled down. Like someone in the writer's room is telling on themselves.
It went from being a few jokes here and there to being like an entire plot line.
Yeah,
like that is staggering.
Like you said, an inbreeding support group, I guess, there of people who are products of that. Okay, I don't really see what
they spend a lot of time on it.
I guess it leads to something with, because they're like, leading.
I have a prediction as to why they're doing that, but I'll save that for spoiler talk.
Okay. It kind of comes towards the end where they're leading like some type of revolt against the overseer and everything like that because of their heritage, I guess. I was like, okay.
Another thing though, where it's like they start to have that idea in like the finale, and they're like, well, but check it next season to see this actually happen.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. So And then another big thing about this is we see the introduction of Robert House there because he wasn't in season 1, right?
No.
No.
Or yes,
Well,
actually
he was
in a
briefly in season 1.
flashback.
He was at a conference.
Yeah,
Oh,
in the
okay.
pre-war flashbacks, you did see him.
Okay, and it's played by Justin Theroux in this, who people might know. He's been in a bunch of stuff there. He was in Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle. He was in that. Crazy. He was Irish in that. Wasn't a crazy fucking Irish guy in that. He was in that. Mulholland Drive. He was in The Leftovers, which I have not seen, but I heard it's amazing. Leftovers. And he plays Robert House in here, who I do know is a big figure in the game.
He's a big part of the New Vegas game.
Okay, what did you guys think about him and his portrayal here?
I thought it was super confusing because he had this weird like body double character who ends up being completely inconsequential, and it was like, okay, why? What did this add to it? And I feel like it was just sort of a justification to have Mr. House just sort of appear randomly wherever the script needed him to, and then later the show could go, oh well, it didn't make sense for him to be there then, so it was his body double that was there then, and it was very strange.
And that sort of brings us, I think, to another one of the, again, if this was an adaptation, could be a nitpick. Because it's not an adaptation, I feel like it's a glaring plot hole. But, the New Vegas game and like the conflict in it between all the factions largely surrounds sort of the idea of the Hoover Dam being this huge power source that whoever controls that is going to be able to control this whole area because it's going to be the energy resource that determines power in the region. And, it's carrying over from the cold fusion sort of MacGuffin that I didn't think worked in the first season already. But they really doubled down here as like that being the only thing Robert House has ever cared about in his life. And like, that's what he needs to make things work. When the Hoover Dam is still right over there. And they just seem to kind of pretend that doesn't exist.
Okay. Yeah, the game New Vegas was literally entirely about all these different factions trying to take control of Hoover Dam and New Vegas itself because it represents this massive strategic energy resource.
Right.
Okay. It seems like they also have like this resource, like infinite energy that they're fighting over as well. Like
that's the cold fusion thing, and it just seems like slotted in when there's already that in a different form.
I hate it as a plot device because it's fine to have that for the pre-war stuff, but post-war, what do you need infinite energy to power? There's like nothing here that needs a massive power source. The hydroelectric dam should be able to do just fine for all of your needs.
Okay. Well, it seems like you need the power so you can pop up on the TV, man. That's how you can show up, pop up on the TV, and everything like that. Okay, so you got that. Again, so I don't really have much of a frame of reference for the character how he's supposed to be in the game. I was trying to, I guess, is he supposed to be like a Walt Disney kind of type of figure there? Like
not exactly. He is supposed to be like an industrialist kind of character. I would say the show does a decent job of trying to portray him on like a minute-to-minute basis, though it does suffer at times from what I feel like is a smart character written by a dumb author syndrome. But generally speaking, I think they do a good job transferring him from the game to the show.
Okay.
I will say at
Henry
times,
Ford or somebody like that. Henry Ford.
Yeah, that's a closer analogy, I'd say.
There were moments in the show though where I like, and as far as characters that I've seen characters adapted worse than this. He looks like the character, and he does have a vibe of the character down. But there are times when I felt like the writers thought Robert House was actually Andrew Ryan, and they were trying to write Andrew Ryan sometimes.
Okay. And who's Andrew Ryan?
Andrew Ryan is the main
Bioshock
villain in Bioshock.
Gotcha. Okay. Bioshock. Gotcha. Okay. Interesting there. What did you guys think about the flashbacks when they show that, and then there's a newer character that gets introduced as well, who plays there's a congresswoman. What's her name? Diana. What's her name?
Diane something. I thought it was funny because that woman is also the voice actress for the is it the Capano character, or I forget which one is Capano and which one's Harrington for their last names, but in Common Side Effects last year. And her live action voice sounds exactly the same as her animated voice. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
was interesting just to hear pop up. But yeah, I don't know. Some of the I think some of the best acting in both seasons of the show is in the pre-war stuff. To the point where, especially during the first season, I was thinking like I kind of wish maybe they just had made a whole show just about that and didn't really try and do the present day stuff at all, but like really just did a period piece history thing. Now in the first season, I felt like that it kind of fell apart near the end, but at least I liked some of it. Here, I think it's piggybacking off of that last chunk, so I don't think it works as well as some of the earlier episodes of the flashbacks in the first season. But I will say, at least Walton Goggins isn't like totally hampered by the god awful makeup in those scenes.
Yeah, you don't like the makeup going on with the
No,
ghoul.
I
It
really
looks
don't.
cheap.
Yeah. What about you, Neil? You think the makeup looks bad with the ghoul? Let me see.
I've always thought the ghoul looked pretty good, and they did a really good. I thought in the first season, at least, they did a good job of balancing out the makeup, but also allowing Walton Goggins to give a real performance. So, I personally have no issues with the makeup on that character.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it looks pretty decent there. Kind of got that kind of going on. And maybe it's because I just really like Walter Goggins. I like Walter Goggins a lot.
I do think
Greatest.
he's trying his ass off in this show at all times, even when I
He
don't think
as
the
an
writing's
actor,
working.
yeah, he as an actor, even in the show, is winning me over. It's just that the script is not doing him any favors.
I think it's just funny that Walton Goggins doesn't care at all about Fallout lore and has like made that pretty obvious in interviews. He's just like, "Look, I'm here to do a job. I don't give a shit about the games or whatever." So
And
don't
I
ask
mean,
me
honestly,
about
I
I
it.
think
respect that.
I think that's a great attitude for an actor. I feel like the writers have that attitude, and that I don't think works. But I think the actors have no reason to no obligation to have to know any of these things. The
Well, it's like
writers should, but
Well, it's like Harrison Ford. Whenever he's asked about Star Wars, he's like, "Look,
Yeah,
I don't give a shit. I walk around with Chewbacca. What do you want me to say about it?"
I
I've
like to
always loved
imagine he
Harrison
turns into
Ford
the
for
Red
that.
Hulk every time someone asks him a question about Star Wars.
He probably cares even less about Marvel lore than Star Wars lore, to be honest.
I can't tell you that this is a for sure thing that happened, but I did read someone say that Anthony Mackie on the first day of filming Brave New World that he did go up to Harrison Ford and was like, "Hey man, let's shoot this." And Harrison Ford's like, "Yeah, let's shoot this piece of shit." I don't know if that's actually true that he said that, but I can 100% believe it.
Yeah, I believe it, honestly.
Okay. And then what do you guys think about Ella Purnell there this season too? Does she improve for you? Did her character Lucy, does it get better? Does it get worse? What do you think?
Her character gets way worse.
I think it gets way worse.
It
Again,
completely
not the actress's
sabotages
fault.
itself. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Keep going on.
No, you're good. I just said it's not the actress. I think Ella Purnell is doing her damnedest to make this work, but I feel like the script is just really inconsistent because so much of her character arc of this season. Well, one, I think in the first season it seemed like a big part of her character arc is her innocence clashing with the cruel and harsh world outside, and sort of when she sees that her dad is responsible for these things, it's sort of like the foundation of where her morals came from turns out to be this. So how does she sort of reframe her worldview? And this second season's answer to that is she doesn't. She's really just sort of like, okay, well, I'm gonna kind of behave the same and just go after my dad. But then it runs into this wall of inconsistency where she's struggling with the idea of having to kill people right out in the wasteland. And she's like, no, we can't, blah, blah, blah. We can't do that. And there's this whole thing where the ghoul is gonna, I think he's gonna kill this person or is torturing them for information. And she's like, no. And she basically saves this person and then leaves the ghoul behind to deal with a rad scorpion by himself. And she gets this person out of there, and then they end up at the Legion camp. And then the Legion, of course, they just brutally murder this woman in front of her. But then Lucy has no reaction to that. She's just the whole show is like making this big point about how she's like not okay with this unnecessary killing, and it's like, you know, having this moral stand against these things. But then she sees somebody innocent get just kind of ganked right in front of her eyes, and she just is like, hey, what's going on, guys?
No, she reacted. She kind of yelled. She yelled and screamed and asked, like, you know, like.
And then she offered to help the Legion
Immediately afterwards.
She did offer to help. I mean, well, I think because they were about to kill her.
They were about to kill some more people, and she was like, do you need my help killing people?
Yeah, that's what she said.
She's supposed to be the moral center of the show, but she never really displays any morality.
And then but then it's inconsistency in behavior, because the Legion cuts this woman's head off, basically, or at least
puts it on a spike. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, puts her head on a spike. They do that immediately in front of her, and then like Lucy, who's like, you know, again, these characters would very much take like someone challenging their authority or trying to act as an equal as like a threat. And so with Lucy, it's like, oh, they crucify her, like they crucify people or whatever. But then she's not actually crucified. There's a ledge for her feet, and she's just got her hands tied to the cross. So they just kind of tie her up there and give her a platform to stand on. And I'm like, is it just you wrote yourself into a corner and couldn't think of like how to have her survive a situation with this group of characters? Because they literally just don't do anything to her. They tie her and then give her a place to stand on. She could have gotten down extremely easily.
That happens constantly in this show.
It seemed at first they were talking about making her like prima noctis, like doing something like that, and then she was like, offering to help, because she was like, oh, I can mediate between the two groups, so you can end the civil war. But then they end up just stringing her to the cross and everything like that. Okay, so that doesn't really go anywhere really interesting there. But it's just a lot of dead ends. I feel like that's what it is. A lot of show has this season has a lot of dead ends, and like kicking the can down the road. And I'm just not really interested in a lot of stuff, because I think out of the trio that we were introduced to in the first season with Ella Purnell, Walton Goggins, and Aaron Monte, I feel like maybe Aaron Monte gets the short end of the stick in this season more than
absolutely.
I mean, the times they do cut back to him, it's very brief. And
he even kind of starts to get like a big heroic moment towards the end, and the show literally steals it from him.
Yeah.
Oh no!
It genuinely feels kind of like a Star Wars Episode 7 to
Finn.
like 8 and 9 with Finn a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a shame.
And they do this weird, in the heroic moment that they do have. It's just an action beat. I don't think this is even getting into spoilers to say, but he's holding off a bunch of death claws, right? While something else is happening to buy time. But the way that they have that fight go down both make death claws look extremely weak compared to how they are, but also too tough at the same time. It's like this weird thing where how tough they are feels super inconsistent, and what they're capable of just doesn't really track. And that also is something they do with other creatures too, because there's a whole massacre at one point of rad roaches, which are the single weakest enemy in like the entire game universe, and they take out like a huge number of people, like way more than the death claws were capable of killing. And it's like, I just don't. Again, if it was an adaptation and the creator was like, well, I want to switch out how dangerous these things are, and like, it doesn't need to be like the games. Like, this is the thing I think would be interesting to be dangerous. It would be a creative choice that I might not agree with, but it would be a creative choice. But again, because this is the same continuity, it's a glaring plot hole that these creatures have been elevated up here, and then these things that are the most dangerous things in this universe have been downgraded to something that is like a kind of an episode threat, and then seems like, yeah, that's fine, no big deal.
The rad roaches in particular are one of the scenes that I think is one of the worst examples of the inconsistent kind of seemingly AI writing in this show, because we are introduced these things as a threat. They murder a whole bunch of people, and seems like two of our characters are in big trouble. You know, these rad roaches could kill them. So we cut to a different scene. We come back to the scene. All the roaches are gone. They've literally disappeared out of thin air. Either that or they left the building and politely closed the door behind them. And these characters can just get up and walk around like nothing's happening.
It feels like Game of Thrones season 8 fast travel syndrome, Because Josh, you mentioned at the beginning Lucy's dad, and sort of what's going on there is he's trying to do these mind control devices on people, and then there's literally it's like he's like, oh, he gets it to work on one person, and that's kind of the end of an episode. And then immediately in the very next episode, he's got like an entire factory slave army, and it's like, how did this one guy logistically kidnap this massive number of people? Like when he is like and that's another thing that's inconsistent too, is just sort of the setting of New Vegas itself, because the entire interior has been taken over by Death Claws, but there's still the like Freeside merchant shop economy just outside the city. Which, why would that be there if like the interior like city is no longer there? What economy is this like outside area serving still, especially when there's Death Claws on the side of outside a single door separating this like big crowd of people at all these shops from the most dangerous creatures in the world, and it's just because there's a door there that nothing happens. It feels like oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's like a fence. It's the kind of fence you'd keep cows behind. And Death Claws apparently are incapable of penetrating this fence. They can rip doors out of buildings. They can throw dudes in power armor around, but a fence, that's too much to ask. Until, of course, the plot needs them to. And then they can throw someone through it.
Do they eat? What do they eat, Death Claws?
Anything, basically.
Anything, yeah.
Okay, so they can... Okay, I was wondering how they survive if they're just... I mean...
That's a great question, because the shows the Death Claws are apparently forced to eat each other to survive in here, despite the fact they've apparently been here for years. I don't know who's feeding them or why they haven't wiped out their own population. But then later, when they get out, there's seemingly when they get out, there's seemingly like an infinite number of them until the plot no longer needs them, and then they vanish into thin air.
And I again with the lore, which again it's the nature of it not being an adaptation, but they have flashbacks in the pre-war to the there's part of Fallout's history is there's like an American annexation of Canada, so there's like this war in the Arctic that happens, and Death Claws are not like winter climate creatures, and yet in the flashback they immediately are like, hey, remember Death Claws? You saw them, you played that game. And they're just like out there in like the sub-zero like Arctic environment. It's like, well, that literally doesn't happen or can't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I guess I don't know if this is it a spoiler to talk about the thing you sent me about the whole shady thing? Is that a spoiler?
Shady Sands?
Oh god. Well, some of it is some of that's already stuff that doesn't make sense from the first season. So, and it just becomes a bigger inconsistency here.
Okay. So, is the show saying that the character of Maximus is from Shady Sands, like his parents were there?
Yeah. He survived Indiana Jones 4 style.
Okay, they put him in like a bunker or something like that.
No, in a fridge.
No, just a fridge.
Oh, they put him in a fridge?
Yeah, just put him in a fridge and he survives the nuclear blast.
Okay.
But what so much of what that flashback doesn't, because like Shady Sands is a big city with like giant secure walls, armed guards. And in this flashback, when they actually show Shady Sands, it's like looks like the people have barely been living there. It's barely organized at all. People are discovering a new water source in like the backyards of an old abandoned house.
It's seen as this major accomplishment that might save everyone.
Even though this is a place that has like hugely like complete infrastructure, it's like a functional, like very like technologically advanced city in the original Fallout game. And here, it looks like people just got there. They're still discovering new water sources, and then the way that it actually is destroyed, you get to see this whole thing in a flashback. It's just one of these guys that had one of these mind control devices placed on him, carted a nuke on a cart and just casually walked into the center of this place and then set the nuke off. Again, there's giant secure walls, armed guards. This guy couldn't possibly get in there if this was actually the Shady Sands that you saw in Fallout 1. It literally just logistically could not physically happen. And then on top of that, why is a advanced city just discovering these resources on like a very sort of barely digging into the ground level for the first time, just literally in the 20 minutes before it's wiped off the map?
Yeah.
That is literally an impossible timeline.
it kind of
can't be congruent.
Oh, yeah.
It just isn't.
It also clashes with the idea of this being like making any sense with New Vegas as a game, because the plot of New Vegas, the video game, is that the NCR, whose capital is Shady Sands, they have many cities, not just Shady Sands, but they have sent an occupying army to Nevada to control Hoover Dam. They are building railways to Nevada to make it easier to funnel troops and resources back and forth. They have the ability to maintain, probably not for long, but at least in the meantime, helicopters that they can fly their president around from one state to the other with. All of this is shown to you in the game, but in the show, NCR is apparently just this empty, dead city where nobody's even been able to wipe the vines off the ruins for 80 years. And somehow they're still able to send an army to Nevada. They never show any sort of justification for the depiction of Shady Sands with the aping of the New Vegas game that they're attempting in this season. They don't reference anything from the game to make it clear that the NCR we see here is capable of the kind of logistics we see in the game.
And I actually think it's something that's worse if you are someone who never played the game and is just watching the show. I think if you've played the game, you could at least go point out these inconsistencies and be like, well, this is how the world's supposed to work. So I see where they're missing or where this, but I really, and again, I've talked to multiple people that have said this to me exactly, that are only watching the show, but they don't understand how the world even is set up or who wants what, because the show's not doing a very good job of even really explaining these things.
Yeah, there's no way that the Shady Sands we see can do any of the stuff that it's supposed to be doing.
We're gonna do a final thoughts rating, and then I'll let you guys if you wanted to, because the big kind of spoiler thing is there. But let's see if I can summarize the kind of moments here there well to do the final thoughts here. So for me, I mean, for somebody who, like I said, haven't played the game, I'm not too familiar with the lore of Fallout, with this kind of story. It's just I don't really think I'm never that motivated to see what's happening next. I think there's always some kind of nice things, some cool things there here and there, with some of the stuff kind of going on, but I just feel like I'm always wondering, like, okay, I'm never interested to see where this is really going to build to. I like some of the performances in this. I think the dynamic, like between Lucy and the ghoul, like that was kind of cute. You know, the whole kind of thing with them, I found at the beginning of the season. With that, I found kind of cute. The moment where Maximus has kind of like he's fighting off the Death Claws, I thought was a cool moment. And the town kind of rallies behind him a little bit there, somewhat. I mean, they somewhat I mean, the army comes in to do most of the work, but
they literally kicked him out of his scene.
I mean, they were at least thinking about helping them. I guess they were thinking about it. So you had that kind of thing. And I think kind of like with Monarch, I know you guys have not seen Monarch, but it kind of sometimes like when they do the same thing when they do flashbacks and then they do a present day type of thing. I think the flashback stuff is kind of more interesting than the present day stuff. And then especially this season where we get to see a more expansion of it and like how integral the ghoul Cooper Howard, who back in the day was Cooper Howard, was at the time, into this whole thing and what he was trying to do there to kind of stop this from happening and that stuff kind of go on. Like you said, maybe, I don't know, maybe that would have been more interesting if we did see maybe more just a whole show with just that kind of happening. Maybe that would have been a little bit more interesting. Some of the guest stars that we have here, like Macaulay Culkin and somebody like, who was the other big guest star this season there? Camille Nanjiani. There, I mean, don't get too attached to him. There, I was say about that. I mean, I feel like he's just kind of thrown in there. I mean, kind of really pointless thing. Even Macaulay Culkin, I don't think is that memorable as his role as the leader of the Legion there. But maybe it's building towards something next season. That's going to be, I don't know, maybe they're going to do something good with him next season, I guess. And yeah, so for me, I just kind of give it it's kind of a plain stream it for me. What about you there, Sage?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many things that bug me. But like I'm kind of feeling a lot of what you're saying. Of like, it just doesn't feel like it's getting anywhere, like doing all that much or building to all that. Like maybe at some point it will, but it just doesn't seem interested in getting anywhere really in the meantime. And I think I think that it sort of approaches that sort of CWDC TV show problem where they're making every supporting character feel like they have like a main plot line that we have to keep cutting between. And so there's so little plot progression because you're feeling the need to cut through so many different characters and act like they're their own leads of their own plots when there's a reason you have main characters and supporting characters and they're supposed to place themselves in those parts. It just doesn't feel like they really know how to spend their time, and maybe part of that is them having 8 episodes instead of like 10. Maybe some of these issues of like the logistics of how stuff is set up and works, maybe they could actually explain some of those things or make those things feel consistent if they had more time to. But it seems like the show has so little happening, even though there's 8 episodes, but then it also feels like there's so many characters and plot lines that nothing's happening despite there being 8 episodes. So it's this bizarre thing where it's kind of the worst of both worlds. I already felt very negatively about the first season. I gave that a burn it. I'm gonna go for a low burn it this time because a lot of these problems I had with season 1, but I think they have gotten significantly worse here. But I also think the show, part of it, I think, is just that the vibes of it being a new show have worn off and it can't hide behind that anymore.
All right. What about you, Ulysses?
So initially in the first couple episodes, I thought maybe there was a little bit of improvement over season 1 because, I mean, there were a few lessons that seemed to be learned. I thought some of the humor was a little better. I thought that the use of special effects was a little wiser. It seems like they'd learned the lesson that the big CGI monsters look like crap during the day, and maybe we should show them at night more. And that worked initially. Like that scene with the big scorpion was probably my favorite scene in the entire show. But as things went on, it seemed like they started to unlearn some of those lessons, and we get to see the big, goofy CGI monsters during the day. That did not work. The humor got worse and worse, and all of the potential of these characters and anything you could have done to sort of salvage their, frankly, terrible arcs was just completely thrown out the door so we could have a bunch of, oh, that's from the game moments. So we could basically just redo the entire plot of New Vegas at the end so that we could just have stuff move from one place to another without anything of consequence or anything really interesting come of it. And it just felt like a big waste of time, really. So yeah, I would give this a burn it as well.
Okay. Spoiler wise, I think some of the major things that happen in this season. So you have Hank there. So she does find her father. She ends up going to the compound that he has. She sees that now he has a legion of workers. How did he get that legion of workers? I don't really know. I mean,
man,
because like an episode where he first makes it work, because there's that one guy that's like, is he like considered a mutant or like a ghoul? The one guy,
Oh,
first
the
guy.
like you're talking about like the traveling
salesman
guy.
Is he a ghoul?
I don't think he was a ghoul, was he? I thought he was just kind of dirty and scruffy looking.
You talking about which character was this? Was it the guy that looked like Rob Zombie?
Yeah, with the hat, the one that was like committing.
Yeah, the chicken
trying
fucker
to commit bestiality in the first season.
Yeah. So he puts it on him. And what episode is? I forget what episode that is. Is that like 6 or something?
There's a couple in.
Yeah, okay. There's like 3 or 4. I want to say.
Okay, and then she doesn't reach him until what, episode 7, 8, where Lucy reaches Hank?
I think 7.
Yeah, 7.
7 is like the episode where they're really together. I think the whole episode.
Okay, so I guess maybe he could have done it in that time. I guess maybe, but it's like, how did he kidnap all those people? But anyway, regardless, so he's got this whole legion of workers there. This device that he's putting on people's necks there that can make them compliant. It can erase all the violence and all the bad thoughts that people have and make them. And then we see like what the mainframe is, what's kind of the main kind of thing that's working it. And it turns out it's the brain of the congressman we saw in the flashbacks there, who's Martha Kelly, who's the actress there who plays Diane. who was the kind of who wanted to stop the whole vaults being built and everything like that. And have that kind of going on. She's a person who's right about what's going on, but she's annoying. So I guess people are like, man, shut up, we don't want to hear you. And so there's that going on. I was kind of, why was her brain the one that was used?
It's purely because they had no idea what to do with this character, but obviously she has to make it to the future along with literally everyone else from the flashbacks. So they had to find something for her to do. So she's a brain in a box.
Okay.
You know any of those CW TV shows, DC shows, where you start with your main character, right, and then they've got sort of this supporting cast, and then slowly throughout all those shows, every single member of the supporting cast gets their own superpower, and they all have to be main characters. This show is doing that, but with pre-war characters surviving into the present, because I kid you not, if I really think about the exact numbers, there's probably about 30 to 40 people in the show that are from the flashbacks that have miraculously all made it 219 years into the future to be part of the present storyline as well.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm not sure anybody actually died during the war.
So I was thinking, I don't know why she was picked to be the brain there. I don't know.
And also it's like she was a character that was just introduced with like 2 scenes before that reveal. So when it's this like, oh, big reveal, it's her head. It's like, well, I barely know her. I just saw her for like the first time yesterday. Like, why does that mean anything to me?
We also are explicitly shown that she doesn't do anything, that she's just a powerless mouthpiece of someone else. Like, she literally doesn't matter. She's just sort of an annoying, shoehorned in Lisa Simpson character who has no actual role.
Yeah. And the guy that, well, I'll talk about the flashback in a little bit, but so she finds what's controlling it. Then she uses Lucy kills her because she's begging her to kill her because she's still kind of semi-animated, reanimated, alive, kind of. So there's that. But then her father tells her that he's shipped these devices out to a bunch of other people.
With what shipping logistics resources? Who knows?
And there's like they have like a 2.0 version of the device. Like they got an iPhone 17 version of the device where they have upgraded it and then they've made it smaller and invisible to the eye and I guess something like that.
Yeah, he went through 17 like iterations in 3 days.
And then this device and then he uses it because she attaches it to him, the newer version of the device. When he's about to do it to her, and she ends up, the ghoul comes, and then he, comes there and saves her from, being indoctrinated with the device. So it seems like what the device does is like it goes a step beyond just making people compliant. It completely like factory resets them. And
it's like they don't have a personhood anymore.
Yeah, like they go, I don't know like exactly what they go back to or revert back to, but they just I guess all their memories are wiped. Like
it's like you become a different person. You die and become someone else in your own body.
Yeah, basically like that. So that's what he does that with her. I mean, he does that to himself there. And that's what we see with that.
That's a really weird scene too, because she, she like gets one up on him, so he can't put the device in her and like kidnap her anymore. So he then uses the device in his own head. And then he blows his own memory out and basically resets his brain. And then Lucy like sits there and it seems like, oh, maybe there's going to be like some sort of emotional thing here. It's like she can maybe have her dad back because he's been reset to like an innocent new person or something. And then she just is like, okay, and then just walks away and leaves this basically newborn mind in this adult person just kind of sitting there outside with no one else around. She's just like, all right, I'm leaving. Cool. I'm out of here.
Then the ghoul, who, like I said, the only reason he wanted to find her father is because he thinks that's where his wife and kid are. He goes there. His wife, his kid is not there. He's still not there, but he knows, he's like, well, but I know they're alive now because they're not in the stasis pods.
It's literally as sophisticated storytelling as the first Mario game. It is literally your princess is in another castle. He opens the cryopod and there's a note or a postcard from Colorado. He's like, oh, I'll go there next. And so he is the other character that is literally in the same position as he was at the end of the previous season. But that also plays into a big thing, right? So the most, having not liked the first season, the most benefit of the doubt going into season 2 that I thought like, well, okay, here what could I maybe attach myself to? Like, what do I think actually maybe could be interesting? And the biggest thing that I thought like maybe they'll do something with this is the end of the first season. There's the twist of Cooper's wife being like the person in the meeting in the flashback to suggest dropping the bombs all over the world, right? So as a character dynamic going into season 2, Lucy got betrayed by her father, which sort of reminds the ghoul of how he was betrayed by his wife back in the day. So there's like maybe a bond between them because they both got betrayed by these members of their family. But then in this season, they, in the flashbacks, they basically reveal that, oh, his wife was forced to say that in that meeting. So there's actually, and he knew that the whole time because this is just in the flashbacks, to the point that he even gets arrested for her and like takes the fall for her in a flashback. So in the present day, there actually was no betrayal for the ghoul to feel like he had a similar experience to Lucy at all. So then there's nothing having these characters relate to each other in any way. So even the genuine promise of a character dynamic that I think the show did set up, it literally went out of its way to say, "Oh no, that doesn't exist."
That's a good point because I totally forgot that he did that in the whole kind of arc there in season 1 that they did. So that's the conclusion of his storyline. So he's still looking for his family. There with that, and I guess Lucy's new plan for season 3 is that she's gonna stop the whole implants and people and do that, I guess, is her plan.
Well, and it seems to be setting up like the NCR and the Legion are going to go at it in New Vegas again. And so she's going to have to kind of deal with that too. But they don't even seem to really understand how these groups work. Like the Legion, right? There's these two factions of it having their own fight, right? And the Kaisar's body, that was the Kaisar in New Vegas, is like, right, it's dead skeleton. It's got a note on it. That note's supposed to have, say who's supposed to be the next leader or whatever. And then when they finally resolve that at the end of the season, what's his name? Macaulay Culkin, he gets the note, he gets it back, and it says, Kaisar wrote this, the Legion ends with me, like basically like commanding them to disband, and like this was my organization. Now, again, if it was an adaptation, that'd be one thing. It's not. So the character consistency is a huge problem. The Kaisar in New Vegas specifically wanted to take control of the Hoover Dam and establish the Legion as the power player in that area of the world to set up a dynasty. Like the whole motivation was to have a dynasty, going forward into the future. So the fact that the big revelation is that he left a note saying like, nope, it ends with me. You guys all need to drop this shit. This was my thing. Get out of here. Again, it's like that you can't say it's the same universe if you don't know anything that happened in that universe.
So there's that with Maximus. It seems like, okay, so after starting a whole civil war between the Brotherhood and all that, he just dips. He's like, oh, peace.
It is so stupid. That pissed me off because I'll tell you, the way all this starts is they get that Xander character in, and it seems like this is someone that Maximus looks up to, but Xander hates ghouls, and Maximus is like, oh, well, I have to kill you if you want to kill ghouls. And then he goes back to the Brotherhood, and apparently Maximus has been in the Brotherhood basically his entire adult life. He has fraternized with these people for decades. He's learned all the tenets. He's gotten the armor, all that stuff. He didn't know that the first rule of the Brotherhood is kill all ghouls. Nobody told him that at any point.
He's just discovering it for the first time.
And this is like basically the catalyst to the Civil War, a lot of which starts without his input whatsoever. It's just the random Brotherhood leaders start murdering each other in the cafeteria over nothing. And Maximus is in the office with the leader of the Brotherhood chapter, and he just killed a man who he respected for wanting to murder all ghouls. And this dude in front of him is going, I think I'm here, and I'm leading the Brotherhood to kill all ghouls. And Maximus is like, oh, well, I'll let you live. And he runs away.
Not only that, but like in that scene, that leader of his chapter of the Brotherhood is like 15 feet away from his gun. and Maximus is like holding a gun up at him, and he's like, oh, I can't bring myself to shoot you. And he lets this, or he's like, man, maybe he would have if the guy didn't fire back at him. But before he gets like works up the nerve to pull that trigger, he does let the guy get all the way to the other side of the room and pick up his weapon before running away. It's like, you had a lot of time to shoot that guy. Like, he was so far away from having something to fight back with.
And he was like preaching genocide the whole time. It's not like he was making some case that you sympathized with. It was a complete nonsense character moment.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was like, oh, maybe I was wrong. And he wasn't trying to like fool him. He was like, no, fuck you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to kill all of them. And also slowly let me walk over to the other side of the room while I tell you how I'm going to kill all of them. And it's like, it is the most contrived nonsense. It feels like every character in the show has been hit in the head.
So he starts that civil war there. One of the catalysts to it, and he dips. He's running away. It's a funny shot. Him, I think it's in the trailer. Him running away, and all the ships are firing at each other. He's just running in the desert.
And that's one of the worst and least effective CGI shots in the show too.
Yeah, so there's that. Then the whole conclusion with the Stephanie thing, the big thing is that she's also 200 plus years old. So she's
God, that's another plot line I can't stand. So we're introduced to this character's like backstory, right? Which is we see it's her and her mother, I think, running from like a concentration camp pre-war in Canada. And like they get like spotted by a helicopter, and a dude in power armor jumps out at them, and then he gets blown up by some suicide bomber. And like her mother gets shot, and like her mother is like, oh, I raised you Catholic, but you have to kill everyone you see from now on, or some shit like that. And it's like this bizarre line. And then the helicopter just conveniently vanishes. Like there's nobody there to menace her anymore. Despite the fact that there is apparently this concentration camp, there's this war zone going on in Canada where people are like suicide bombing America's elite soldiers. The border post, just down this, just a little short walk from there, is just a dude, just a cop in a booth. So she can just like stab him and keep going. There's like all the opposition that she was being like shown as having to face, as if her life was in this critical danger, just vanishes instantly. And despite the fact that she is this Canadian dissident on the run for 200 plus years, she kept her Canadian ID the whole time, just in her pocket, so that somebody could find it 200 years later and go, oh shit, you're Canadian. We don't trust Canadians. Like, what?
I don't know why she would still feel like she would still need to have that. I don't know. Maybe she's thinking about going back. Like, oh, well, you never know.
Why even bring it into the vault and then into the cryogenic pod with you at all?
Yeah,
it is like, just evidence to be used against you later. And lazily leave it out for people to go like, what if I opened this what if I immediately went to this drawer, opened this drawer, I didn't look anywhere else in this room, and go, oh, hey, what's this in here?
He made it seem like they made it seem like the guy who's her boyfriend or whatever, that he knew like where to find it automatically. Like he had seen it before. Yeah. Which I don't know, maybe in season 1 did he see that before? I don't know.
I don't think so. That was introduced this season.
It's literally I need a character to find something in a scene. So I write that they walked into the room and opened the container that had the thing in it. There's no effort to search or like.
There's another example of that same couple of characters where so she has like some guy murdered for questioning her. And so her like weird fake husband comes in. And she's sitting at the table and she's like, oh, you need to clean the dishwasher disposal unit. And he's like, okay. And he like reaches his hand in there and he pulls out the glasses of the guy that was murdered. So the implication is she murdered this guy, disposed of the body in this dishes drain disposal unit, but couldn't clean all the evidence out of it and made somebody else who she knows is suspicious of her do it instead.
Yeah.
Like it's astounding. The level that these characters don't even act like real humans, and the way that the show has to force twists on us.
So the big thing is she's Canadian, and then she is getting married to this dude, and is forcing him, I guess, to get married to her.
For some reason.
I don't know exactly why.
I mean, that's another thing that just makes no sense because she's already been promoted to overseer. Yeah, and she has all the power she could need, and she's already gotten like the child out of the dynamic, right? There's literally no reason for them to go through this elaborate like sham marriage that she doesn't care about. It's just happening because.
Yeah, she doesn't.
So that somebody can uncover her secrets.
Yeah,
Right. It's just there for that to happen.
and she doesn't like the dude whatsoever. You know what I
No,
mean?
she treats him like dirt.
Yeah, you think she would treat him better if she's trying to like, keep like let him keep her secrets and like everything like that. But okay, but yeah, so they get and then that's at the wedding. That's when he exposes her and then reveals to everybody in the vault that she's Canadian. And then she runs away and then she goes into the vault, like not a vault. I'm sorry, she goes into like a room where she shuts the door. Her like conference room or her like office. She goes into her like office as the overseer. And then that's when she pulls out like a special, they call it what, Pet Boys things, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Pet Boys.
where she makes a call to somebody. So another thing in the flashbacks that gets revealed is that she was the wife of the Hank character back 200 years ago. With horrible de-aging.
I was about to bring up the de-aging.
with really bad de-aging. She was the wife. So I don't know if it was like I asked you this. I don't know if they're trying to say that she's the mother of Ella Purnell, like the Lucy character, maybe.
They so don't look anything alike, but I also wouldn't put it past the show to say it anyway, even if it's not believable.
Because I don't remember in season 1 what they say about the mother or what the identity of the mother. I don't remember if they say anything about the mother.
To be honest, I don't remember if they.
I don't either.
So that's pretty much Any other big spoiler things I missed? Anything?
Well, just to tag on to the last thing you said, though, it's yet another storyline where she goes into her office and is like, I need to call someone. And that's the last scene in the season where nothing else happened until the final episode in that entire plot line. And it's okay, well, maybe something will happen next season. So actually that's 3 plot lines where I feel like characters are literally just kind of right where they are, because the first season ended with her boyfriend being suspicious of her, and then the next season ends with her boyfriend confirming his suspicions of her, and that's all that happened.
So that was Fallout season 2. So I give it a stream and you give it a burn it, and then Ulysses, you gave it a burn it as well. Or you want to give it a waste of TV? You want to give it a waste of TV? You can do that.
You know what? Yeah, let's give it a waste of TV.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much, Ulysses. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
One more time, let people know what you got going on, what they can find you.
Again, I'm just one of Sage's co-hosts on Rated M for Immaturity, also the co-author on A Red Age, our sci-fi book about militant dinosaurs. I promise it's better than Jurassic World. And that is it. That is where you can find me. That is where I exist.